This is Jim Feist in Las Vegas, and it's Happy Friday morning, and we've got tournaments going on. We got the NBA going on. We got preseason baseball, exhibition baseball, I guess they call it, and lots of stuff going on in the sporting world. And of course, we got horse racing on the weekend that we focus on, or I should say, Hank. And Hank is on the phone with me right now from Florida. Hank, how you doing today?
Oh, I had a wonderful day yesterday. I spent the afternoon with Coach Shula, Bob Greasy, and Joe Brown, who used to be the assistant to the NFL commissioner, was in town. And we spent the day at the races. And then I had dinner with Joe Brown and his wife last night. Joe was telling me about his successor, is the father of the woman who just resigned as Trump's from Trump's staff, and so quite an interesting story. But anyway, Coach Shula was in a good frame of mind. We had wonderful conversation, a lot of fun. Picked a couple of winners at the track, and I called in my selections for tomorrow's Fountain of Youth. I gave my top 5 horses in the race. I think it's a wide open race that any one of 5 horses could win. It's a pretty deep field for the Fountain of Youth. And there are a lot of good 3-year-olds around the country right now. Next week there's going to be a couple more stakes races. Wayne Lucas had a horse that won in Louisiana, who came in. He was like a 40-to-1 shot, and we'll see where he goes from there. But it's good to see Wayne back in the picture at his age. He's an amazing guy. But the Fountain of Youth is a good collection of speed and lightly raced horses, but this will be the first appearance of the year for the horse that won the 2-year-old stakes, the 2-year-old Breeders' Cup race, Chad Brown's horse. So, we'll see how he runs fresh. He's been training great. We'll see what happens with him. I don't know if he's going to go off the strong favorite, but he's and the name of the horse is Good Magic. Yeah, he had 3 races last year. He was 1 for 3. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But he's going to be challenged in this race. It's not going to be any walkover for him.
Well, we depend on you for the horses. I mean, nobody picks horses better than Hank. Hammer and Hank at the racetrack is amazing. Hank, we also have some basketball games going on right now. Michigan State's up 6-4. It's only a couple minutes into the game. And we got a lot of interesting basketball happened yesterday and the day before, and it just seems to me, this is only my opinion, there are a lot of C plus and B teams. Very few teams qualify as an A team based on previous history. That's why you're seeing so many of these teams that are clear favorites off of the regular season just are not doing all that well. And okay, granted, there's always upsets, but what I'm saying is it's not there's not a hierarchy right now in college basketball. Yeah, you can talk about North Carolina and Kentucky and Duke and teams like that, but and they're likely to be the teams that are going to cut down the net at the end of the season in the championship, but they're not that far apart from other teams that can beat them. There are plenty of teams, maybe 20, that legitimately have a shot. 15 more likely than 20, but it's going to be an interesting tournament. It already is an interesting tournament, and you'll notice that there's a lot of sharps out here looking to buy points or look for point value on their games rather than hierarchy. And that's the way I see it happening with the money. Granted, people are always going to come in and bet the favorites, but that's a dangerous game right now.
No, the Big Ten tournament is it's unusual, you know, that they would play the Big Ten tournament in New York. It's ridiculous. But Michigan State, I think, is well rested. They're a fresh team, and they're pretty loaded. They're playing Wisconsin, who's coming out of two tough games. Wisconsin came through yesterday. They were really challenged yesterday, but they wound up winning at the very end. Wound up a free throw shooting contest in the closing seconds of that game. Rutgers has scored two upsets, and they'll have their hands full tonight. I think they play Purdue, and Purdue is loaded. I don't know. You want to give so many points, but and there's some other tournaments start tomorrow, and then of course next week there'll be a bunch of them. Miami was interesting in the way they beat North Carolina with a buzzer beater. Miami's an up and down team. They are not great defensively. But North Carolina and Duke both lost before their matchup on Saturday. So, both got caught looking ahead, and Duke, their so-called best inside player came back and played, and I thought he played lousy. He's lazy. Somebody's got a lot of fire under him. He doesn't play any defense at all. He stands around and watches guys go by him, and he's a toreador. He just waves them by, and he doesn't aggressively go after rebounds. They were playing better without him. Talking about Bagley or whatever his name is. But Duke is an odd team at times. North Carolina right now, I thought, was playing very well. They can certainly score. And, when Duke plays North Carolina, both teams can light it up. It's an interesting game tomorrow.
Yeah, it will be. We go down to, projecting ahead, who's going to win it all and stuff. In my opinion, the teams that are not the ones that the media loves, the NCAA loves, et cetera, I don't think they get a fair shake on the floor with the officiating. I do think there's a bias. It shows up. I saw it last year with Gonzaga in North Carolina. And it happens time and time again. So you have to be aware of that, where the bias is. I don't think it should be there. It obviously shouldn't be there, but it is. It is what it is. Reality is reality. So when you're betting futures, you might be a little bit careful. You might be in a situation, if you can get a long shot that you feel will get to the Final Four or the Final Eight, then you start to hedge, and I think that's advisable because there's very few times that you'll get a champion, even though there's going to be maybe 15 teams in the running to really have a good shot. If they get hot, all you have to do is get hot for a couple games, and you can take down anyone. So, I'm looking for some future tickets, but I also know that I'm going to have to hedge because there's going to be officiating biases in these games. And I've seen it too many years. I've been doing this forever. And it just exists. And that's probably definitely why we never see anyone come up from way back and really win these championships. The last time I saw that happen, I think, was back with Villanova, years and years ago with Raleigh Massimino. It's been a while. So anyway, there's some great games today. There are other tournaments going on besides the Big Ten, and you've got some teams closing out. And you got we have obviously have the Big Ten: Rutgers, Purdue, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Iowa State at Oklahoma. That's an interesting game. Game opened 10. It's up to 10.5 in a lot of spots. Oklahoma has been a real dog lately. I mean, they just have not played well. Laying that number of points, Iowa State's a little banged up. It's late in the season. It's a final game. Young will be in the pros next year. He's had a tough second half of the season, but these kids aren't used to playing so many games under so much intensity, and building up their stamina to do that is difficult. Rhode Island's visiting Davidson today. Davidson had that triple overtime loss to St. Bonaventure, and a lot of people are looking at that and say, well, that's a very tired team. Of course, Rhode Island, now they're a dog in this game. They're a 2-point dog on the road at Davidson. Rhode Island's the better team. We know that. But do they really give a damn? I mean, that's what's happening right now. A lot of these teams that know they're there and they know they're going somewhere, they are not coming with the intensity. Now, this is typical. That's been going on for a long time. The intensity of going out there and putting up a big effort day in, day out, when you know you're already set to go and get in the big dance and possibly win it all. So their focus, their look-aheads and all that, the teams that are not in those situations get a motivational advantage, and you have to be aware of that as well. So that's
Rhode Island is coached by Danny Hurley, and Hurley, I think, will have them ready to play. Off of a very poor performance the last time out. There are teams around that can play, that you got to keep an eye on early in the tournament. Teams like Iona or, I'll tell you, Seton Hall played a heck of a game the other night, and came through with I'll tell you something. Villanova bothers me. I think that they get into some lazy stretches in games, and I'm not sure that they're as good as everybody says they are. They always have an excuse, and I watch that coach and how casual he is at the end of games. He's just standing there looking good, and that game the other night. Every sequence that they had at the end of the game was the same. They brought the ball up. Whoever brought the ball up stood behind the arc, dribbled the ball several times. They had no structure whatsoever, and they wound up they never went to the basket, except on one or two occasions. They just stood outside and then took 3-point shots and missed. It was frustrating to watch. They got beat.
Well, that is one of the curses of the 3-point shot, that so many teams depend on that, and it's the lowest percentage shot, of course, because it's got the most distance to travel. And with teams that depend on the 3-point shot so much, they become inconsistent in their results because they are depending on the most inconsistent and least dependable shot so, and that's where you see a lot of inconsistency in the results. And across the board this year, more than ever, and I'm just kind of repeating, there's more of a spread of talent right now out there. There is no team, in my opinion, that is so dominant that you just can't go in and even make a money line bet on these teams. Forget the point spread. I mean, look at last night, Virginia and Louisville. We know who the better team is. They were behind the whole game. That was absolutely a miracle, and some poor play also by Louisville to put them in that position. I mean, down 9 points with 7 seconds, or 7 points with 9 seconds, and they end up winning the game. But there's an inconsistency in college hoops, which gives us an opportunity to look for some underdogs that will be live based on those factors. But you really have to do your work to get there, and that's what we do each and every day. Now, there's a game today, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I had a report that Bradley's leading scorer may not be in the game today at Drake. But I may have some wrong information on that. The game goes off at 12:30 Pacific time, and I really have to dig into this and find out what the true information is, because the game opened Bradley 1, and it's up to 3.5. And that would not indicate that the leading scorer for Bradley would be out, because Drake can be a tough little team to fight, especially getting points at home. In this situation, I should say. So I really have to dig into that. But that's when you got so many teams and so many players. The checking on the status of each player takes quite a bit of work, and that's what I'm going to be digging into the rest of today. To dig up information like that. Hank, you got anything else you want to check into for today? We got to get back to the games. Everybody out there wants to hear what you had to say, and your plays are up online at jimfeist.com. So are my plays as well. And go there and pick up, and also make sure you pick up Hank's horses for tomorrow. Hank has a big card, and he's done his work, and he always does really well. Anything else, Hank?
I was looking at some of the moves these NFL teams are making right now. Excuse me, they're already, this is the week where they get a good look at these college guys, and they test them for the first time. I wouldn't go overboard looking at the results at this point.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of a college player. There's a lot of college players come in and they just can't perform at the next level.
Tell you what's interesting is that Minnesota, what they're doing with their quarterback situation, with their quarterback situation, they may not bring any of them back.
Well, I'm not sure how they could justify that, but if they do, I think that would be a big mistake. In my opinion, but then again, I'm not.
Well, they'll justify it by bringing in the guy from Washington and letting the other 3 guys go.
Well,
I will see.
I wouldn't do that, but I would at least keep one as a backup. I know they have been doing some things along that. It sounds like you're choking on something.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I don't. Well, they've got sour considerations, and I think they think Keenan might have been a fluke.
Well, he definitely played at a higher level than anybody expected, but he did. Hank, we're running a little long. We have to sign off now, and everybody have a great weekend. Go to jimfeist.com, pick up our plays, and we'll talk to you on Monday, and we'll be collecting some of those coins. Thanks, Hank.